This production is sponsored by The Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. So good afternoon and welcome to the Captain's Run round number 22. Just hours away from kicking off at the Halliwell Jones Stadium. Steph and I will be there. Good afternoon, Steph.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, it's a bit earlier today because, like I say, we will be doing a live from the Bluebell at 20 to 7. We've had to put it back a little bit because of this. Of course, this show taking place. We'll have to get ourselves ready. But we will be down at the Bluebell as soon as we can. And we will be live with the patrons of the Bluebell from about 20 to 7. All the team news, a couple of games as well. We'll have a right good giggle, and Mr. Sale will, of course, be in my company. Yes, right. Any news, Steph? Not really that much floating about, really, is there, at this moment in time? A couple of news articles reference Salford. We won't go there. After all, Matty did pay us £2 on Tuesday not to talk about Salford, so best not, really.
No, I think we'll leave that one well alone at the moment.
Absolutely. Peter Barley straight in with a tip for today. There you go. Pete showing his appreciation for this live content. £1.99 in the kitty. That's a coffee for both of us, mate. Happy days. Yes, that is open if you would like to make a small donation for the work that we do. Of course, we don't have magazines to sell and things like that, but we do produce a lot of great content for you. So if you want to do a super chat, that would be marvellous. And hello to Heather Bailey as well. Right, let's take a look at the league table. Here it is. Massive game, of course. Tomorrow night, the Robins against the Warriors, pretty much League Leaders Shield over if the Robins win that. Leopards in third place, of course, trying to hunt down the Warriors, as are the Saints. There's the Rhinos and FC with Trinity in seventh. Of course, the Wolves and the Dragons, they go up against each other tonight. Tigers, Giants, Red Devils. Of course, the Giants will hope that they can maybe climb at least one more place between now and the end of the season. These are the confirmed fixtures for this round number 22. These are the ones we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Of course, Wire against Catalan. The big one, Wigan against KR. Castleford take on the Leeds Rhinos. FC Lee, Saints, the Giants, and Salford bring the curtain down against Wakefield Trinity, Steph. Right, let's start with tonight's game at the HJ. As we always do, let's talk you through the tale of the tape. 27-18 in Super League history to the Warrington Wolves. 4-1. The last 5 meetings in the favour of the Wire. Catalan come into this on a 5-game losing streak. Warrington on a 3-game losing streak. They will not be happy about that at all. Points for, Warrington a fair amount more with regards to points for, and also a slightly better defence. Tackle efficiency is good, of course, but Catalan have been being worn down time and time again. Of course, execution a lot better against both of these teams, even though they've defended pretty strongly. Most of the time, errors do lead to tries. The conversion efficiency, that goes the way of the Dragons. Very, very even in terms of errors this season from both teams. You expect that, Steph, from Catalan, perhaps not from Warrington. 224, 225. We know Catalan throw the ball about. Warrington will be pretty filthy, I think, that they've had 225 errors thus far.
Yeah, it's really, really high, that when you compare it to the top sides. And no coincidence where these two sit in the league table with an error count like that. Definitely one for this evening. They'll be both looking to make sure that error count is nowhere near their average. And it's going to be a lovely evening as well. Great conditions for rugby league. So hopefully we don't see that in this one, and it's a really good game.
Yeah, the dog in the background giving us a bit of extra volume. If you hear that, I'm about to go and shoot it. But there you go. Let's take a look at the two squads then coming into this game. Like we said on weekly, because of course we had the squads on weekly. Pretty decent, the Catalan squad going into this game compared to how they've had it. Of course, Remy Smith back, Kotrick there as well. That's good news for them. So as far as the Dragons are concerned, they couldn't really probably travel any better. Yes, Sam Tompkins isn't there, but apart from that, they're in good fettle, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And the big gap there is 10, 11, 12, isn't it? I'm not sure who that is for Catalan, if I'm being brutally honest, but obviously...
Well, it's Julien Busquet, isn't it?
Busquets,
is not there. Tarek Sims and Elliot Whitehead.
Elliot White, yeah. So that is three pretty decent players, isn't it? That they are missing there. But no, looking quite healthy. They're going to want to put a much better performance than they served up against the Giants last week. And same for Wire. I mean, they were really impressive Wire last week. I thought in defeat, went toe to toe with Wigan, and I think Danny Walker was a big reason behind that. And Matt Duffy should come back into the squad this evening. That should at least get with the Wire a few more points as well. I'm expecting a big performance from him and wanting to right a few wrongs from his disciplinary not being in the side last week.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of rumour, and this happens at Warrington. It's like they have one good season and then they have a season that's dogged with rumour and all the rest of it. It happens time and time again. A lot of talk in terms of who was and who wasn't at the captain's run on Wednesday. A lot of talk that perhaps King might not play in this one. Duffy, not a given that he's playing in this one. We're going to find out about 6:30 tonight. It's one of those. I mean, you don't know. There's that many stories coming out. You just don't know which one to believe at the moment. But I do think that if Matt Duffy doesn't play tonight, is that question marks over his long-term future at Warrington?
If he doesn't play tonight, Dave, he's gone. As far as I'm concerned, I think he'll go. I mean, strong rumours about him going to York with Paul Vaughan, isn't there, at the moment?
Good mates.
So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and I think I'll be eagerly anticipating the team sheet that comes out of Wire tonight. And if the likes of King aren't in there as well, then wow, yeah, it's not looking good, is it? But
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It is. I mean, obviously, Stefan Ratchford there. No Kai Taylor-Rae in the squad this week. He was there last week. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see which Warrington team. Of course, Conor Wrench back in the 21-man squad as well. So that'd be interesting. Imagine that. As obviously Ratchford would definitely play fullback if Duffy wasn't there. But imagine that. A back line again of the two Fulises, Conor Wrench and Zach Gardner. I mean, that, from a production perspective, in terms of what Warrington are doing in and around the academy, that would be unbelievable, really, if that was the starting back line. Also, I think, a lot of Warrington fans looking forward to seeing Matteson again, because there's a lot of rumour that Warrington are trying to pen him down for a contract for next season. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Thank you, Bazza. It's very
Bazza puts a fiver into the chat. Well done, Bazza, for as always tipping us this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed for that. But yeah, you were saying, mate, about Matteson.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with what I've seen from Matteson in the 2 games he's played so far. My only concern is if this thing is going on at Warrington, if there is a bit of a culture problem, does he want to stay? That'd be my only thing. Warrington definitely will want to keep him, but it's so interesting to find out what happens with Wire for the next. I think it's going to set the precedent for next season. These next few games, whether it's a complete clear out of players, or whether it's just a small rebuild. But obviously, it's all rumours and whatever. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. But I think we'll learn a lot from the team sheet tonight. And if Warrington can keep hold of Matteson, from what I've seen of him so far, that would be a great acquisition.
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the Dragons, I mean, of course, Tavita Pangai Jr. coming to Warrington next year, which has took a lot of Warrington fans by surprise based on how he's performed for Catalan this year. But there's no doubt about it, under the nose of Burgess, he will want to have a stellar game tonight.
Oh, definitely. He's going to be his home ground next season, so he's going to want to show the Wire fans what they're going to be getting. One again who's flattered to deceive. Seen glimpses this season of Pangai Jr. and what he can do. You look at his highlight reel in the NRL; it's frightening. Where he's been more pussycat than tiger, hasn't he? Really, in Super League this year. But he'll want a big performance tonight against a big Warrington forward pack.
He's got the makings of a Sam Lazzone type, big, bruising, comes on at 20 minutes. I hope Nick Burtonwood's in the chat. There goes our Nick. Nige Bennett is with us as well. Good to see you, Nige. Phil Webster, Tony Pennington might be joining us for a jar in the Bluebell later on. Mark Hill on Facebook, disgraceful effort. Get over to YouTube. Mark, you know better than that. But yeah, unbelievable stuff. But yeah, I mean, this for me tonight, fascinating game of rugby league for both reasons. and I think we need to. I think Warrington desperately need a win here, but like I say, it's a very youthful-looking 21-man squad, but obviously plenty of experience in there. But again, you know, depending on who you believe, Paul Vaughan's not shooting for tonight. Even if that was the case, I mean, I just don't see Warrington winning it. So I think a lot of this is smoke and mirrors. To be quite honest with you, I'd be very, very surprised if it wasn't what we would expect. But I agree with you. If Duffy isn't playing tonight, there's obviously bigger problems there. The big matchup for me. There you go. Bradford fans in the chat. Mark Hill, he's happy. He's given us a coffee as well. Thank you very much indeed, Mark, for that. Really appreciate it. I mean, for you non-members, that's how strong this membership is. Look at that. Hey, look at our members loving it. You know, tipping us on the low. That's what it's about. When you become a member, it's more than these programs. Believe me, they appreciate all the work that goes in, week out here at Super League Raw. Right, the battle, Stef. This one, it's a big test for Jakey boy. I thought last week he was schooled by Eckersley, really schooled, and tonight he's coming up against arguably one of the most prolific, experienced players in Super League history. That is, of course, Tommy Makinson. You know, you look at that. He does actually compare really well. I mean, who'd have thought that Jake Fulis, 21 rounds into Super League, would be leading on tries against Tommy Makinson?
Yeah, it's incredible stat, and you can't even put it down to Warrington being exceptional either, can you? But you know, Tommy Mack's not really had the opportunity at Catalan either, because they've been dire at getting the ball to him in good ball situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is going to be it's going to be a real big test for Jake going against Tommy, because I don't think Tommy's played badly at all for Catalan. I think it's more a case of the service he's been getting there. But yeah, really, really interesting, because it's like the master versus the apprentice, isn't it? And he'll be wanting, as in Jake will be wanting to put in a much better performance than he did against Eckersley.
Absolutely. By all accounts, there's big foreheads in the membership, according to Bazza Kingston. All I know is he hides Gordon very well. You had to have been on the social last night, cracking giggle on the Super League Raw social last night. Everybody went away happy on that one. We had a right good laugh. Some of us in disguise, but there you go. But no, unbelievable. Tommy Mack, not really fired, but neither of Catalan. But like I say, Jake Fulis for me played really well against Ryan Hall. Really well against him against Leeds, didn't he? So we know he can go toe-to-toe with Super League's best, but he will want to strike back after what, for his standards this season, was a disappointing performance against a very, very good Zach Eckersley.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, was exceptional against Ryan Hall. So he has got the ability. I really rate Jake. I think he's not quite Josh's level yet, but he's a bit younger, isn't he? So he's still got time to mature. But when you're playing in this Warrington first team, you want to test yourself against the best players and see where you're at, and he'll get better and better for that experience. So yeah, really interesting to see how he goes tonight, and he'll be looking to get a couple of tries, I think, this evening.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to be a real test for both teams. I think everybody went the way of the wire on weekly, on Tuesday. But to tell you now, folks, don't be surprised. I mean, do not be surprised if Catalan come to Warrington tonight and get a result over the wire. I mean, they do travel well to Warrington. The start of the season, the two of them at the HJ 18-12. Warrington got off to a flyer at the Dragons, ended up scraping that, if you remember, in the very, very last minute with that beautiful kick from George Williams, 24 points to 20. And last year at the HJ, Warrington got off to a really slow start and came back, but in the end, Catalan ran away 32-24 winners. So like I say, they do travel well to the wire. Don't be surprised if Catalan were to come away with a win tonight. Right, let's get to this one. Of course, we spoke a lot about this and a bit of love now being sent back the other way by Mark to Bazza. They're having a lovely loving in the chat by the looks of it. Let's get into this one. Wigan against KR. We spoke at length about this. Oh, actually, terrible. I always do it, don't I, Steph? Records. Toby King, if he does play, 200 in Super League. Josh Fulis will make his 100th. That's guaranteed. If Ben Curry goes over, he's still searching for his 100th try in Primrose and Blue. Could happen tonight. 150 for Oliver Partington and Alex de Costa, 150 for the Catalan Dragons. If Makinson does score tonight, he will go above Jermaine McGilvery to stand alone in 6th place the all-time Super League try scoring charts. Apologies that was forgotten again. I need to do better. Shocking. Right, let's get into this then. So Wigan against KR. And look, it was somebody brought this to my attention, and they were right. People were saying, the narrative around KR have got to get one over Wigan, and somebody pointed out that in round 9 of last year's Super League, KR won 26-10 at home to Wigan. And it's a fair point, but they have got 4 in a row, Wigan. They've got 4 in a row at a time where, let's be honest, I think when KR played Wigan that early on in round 9 of 2024, nobody, well, I'm not being harsh when I say this, but as good as the squad that KR had assembled, they weren't at the top table at that point.
No.
As the season went on, people started to see these are real genuine contenders. And since they've had the genuine contenders tag, which they didn't have in round 9 2024, we're going to 4-0. And that is why we're saying what we're saying. It matters, and they need to get one over Wigan. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Wigan over the history, absolutely. You can see it there. They've dominated KR. Of course they have. Last 4 meetings there, it is the 4-1. KR having lost 2 to Leeds and League, now of course on a 3-game winning streak, 2-game winning streak for the Warriors. Wigan have won their last 4 home games against Rovers. The last 4. The Robins' last away win was in June 21, 18-8 at the Brick Community Stadium. I mean, DW at that point. It's that far back. If you look at the points for, incredible Stef, 700. I mean, 602 is not bad, but then you look at 700, you're going, wow. But then also you look at 198301. And again, in the social last night, you were pushing one of our members, Simo, who was backing Wigan for this by 18 plus, and you said, where's that coming from? When you look at a points for and against like that, it was a valid question to ask him. Do you want to just walk through that discussion and what you were trying to get at with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody this season's put 18 plus difference on KR, and I was just interested to see why they thought this would be the case. I mean, the only real big missing person for KR is Tyrone May, isn't it? I know Mickey Mack's not going to play in this as well, but yeah, it was more around the defence of KR. They're still averaging less than 10 points a game conceded against them. Phenomenal defence, but yeah, that was the point in terms of where we saw Wigan getting an 18-point difference on that. I just can't see it myself. And more to the point, Wigan have not been in the form of the quadruple season. They have dipped this season. It's fact. But we were also pointing out that they still sat second, and that's credit to Wigan. That they can not be as good as they were last year, but still be sat in second place. Phenomenal effort. I mean, the points for that surprises me at 602. Most teams would give anything to be able to say at this point in the season they'd scored 600 points. But it's that defence that I think is the difference between the two teams. Wigan have been a bit more leaky this year. I would not, if you were looking at this without seeing this season, you just thought those would be flipped around and it'd be Wigan on 198. So I think that's the point we were trying to make with it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a fascinating game, and who plays where. Whether KR stick to Morg in the halves and Broadbent at fullback. I expect them to do that. I think it's too big a game to start chucking Milne in or stuff like that. So that's going to be fascinating. And from Wigan's point of view, still no Thompson in the squad. That's a big blow for them. But getting Bevan French back, potentially that is a game changer for Wigan. But whether Bevan's going to be fully up to speed after such a long layoff, I can't see that either. So this is where I'm struggling with where people are getting an 18-point win for Wigan from. But, stranger things have happened. I don't think anyone would have had St Helens going to Wakefield and putting 30 on them. So,
I put Phil's comments up there saying the past is irrelevant. I don't believe it is in sport. I think mentally, what goes on between your two ears in sport is massive. Now, again, it says a lot about players, their ability to shut that noise out. But we've seen this many times, many sports teams where they can't. It becomes a real problem. A real problem. I mean, Warrington had that over Saints for many years. Warrington just could not. Always come close, but couldn't get the job done. And you saw them crumble. You saw them crumble in late stages. of those games. Going back to the Sean Long days where they were in a really good position to win a game, and then inexplicably, they just go. They just go, and you see it before your eyes. It's almost like we could do this. It dawned on them. You could see it on the field. It was dawning on them what they were achieving, and it just fell away. So I don't think it is irrelevant, Phil. I really don't. I think in sport, believe me, hoodoos happen, and this is and people you always see this in sports. It's the next challenge, and they have to get one over Wigan. They have to get one over. They have to now prove to Wigan that they're better than them, because as long as Wigan are on a winning streak, it's that badge of honour of you can't beat us. So for me, KR needs to say to Wigan, right, now we are at the top table, and I reiterate, I don't think they were in round 9 last year. As the season went on, it became very apparent how good KR were, and they're still exceptional now. This is massive. They need to get one over on the Wigan Warriors. Just also before we go through more detail with regards to the squads, Greg Roach in the garden today, a day off, enjoying a beer, watching the captain's run, and he is our latest Under the Floodlights. That will be going live tomorrow at 9 a.m. on our YouTube channel. So Greg Roach, 9 a.m. tomorrow, Under the Floodlights. Make sure you catch that, members and non-members. I mean, that's the beauty as well of Super League Raw. We give your fans, real quality, passionate fans, the opportunity to talk about why they love our game in rugby league. We give them a voice. And I'll tell you now, it's as good as for me personally, these interviews, they're as good as what you get with the players, and the fact that we've all got a story. We've all got a story around rugby league. It's a fascinating watch. Make sure you catch that tomorrow, 9 a.m. in Under the Floodlights with Greg. An outstanding chat we had earlier today. Right, okay. I agree with you. Bevan French coming back, that's massive. Of course, how effective he's going to be is going to be interesting. A lot of talk over Milnes potentially coming back in. I agree with you. I don't see how he can. At the end of the day, he's hardly played for KR this season, really. He's been out on loan. Yes, he's a more specialist half than perhaps Morg is, perhaps. But for me, is Milnes going to be in the shake-up? Is he going to be in the playoffs for KR? Very, very unlikely. So I agree with you. I think he keeps Broadbent at fullback, and he leaves Arthur Morg in the halves alongside Mikey Lewis. And that's a real running, dangerous partnership. You question where the control is going to be in that. I mean, Mikey's in-game kicking is improved. That's what Milnes would bring, a more specialist kicker in terms of general play and attacking kicks. But I just think I think KR, it's a free shot for KR, isn't it, Steph, in the fact that they're that comfortably ahead now in the league. They can afford to try and go away foot to the floor, and really go for it. Really go for it. And I think that's probably what they're going to go and do. They're going to test themselves from an attacking perspective.
I expect them to come out of the blocks flying. They're going to want to dominate Wigan and really send a message out. And if they do, if they do that, then that is a massive statement by them to go to Wigan away and win. And like we were saying before about the mind games of it, what does that then do to Wigan? If KR do go, I think it pretty much nails them on for league leaders as well if they win this game. I know not mathematically, but I can't see anybody predicting them not to get the league leaders if they win this one. So it's a huge one, because then that'll take the pressure off them a little bit for that league leaders, because I know how much they want that and they want to win it, as they do with every trophy this year. So it's going to be fascinating. I think the thing I'm most looking forward to is the tactics by both sides. The two exceptional coaches in Matty Pete and Willie Peters, and I think that's where this game could be won and lost in terms of whether they get it right. If KR do come flying out, a bit like Lee v Leeds last week. Lee obviously wanted to kill that game early, you could tell that, but then it bit him in the middle part of that game. So I really do think that KR are going to come out of the blocks flying and really want to send a message. But I think the big risk for both sides here is, because the build-up is so big, does it get a bit tasty and the cards start getting shown? We've seen that before with these two teams. It cost KR at the Brick a few years ago, didn't it? In terms of discipline. So that's another one to keep our eye at. But as a neutral, that's great. We want to see that. So,
but we want to see all 26 on the field, don't we? We want it to be one on the field, not in who's sat down or anything like that. But I get your point. It could get tasty with the likes of JWH on the field. I mean, how I said at the weekend, Harry Smith lost his head at Warrington. I don't know what was going on with Harry Smith. He got caught up in some right nonsense on the left edge, and I don't know what upset him. But again, that's going to be interesting. And another interesting one as well is Sam Walters. Another game, he got himself back against Warrington. He was in incredible form start of the season. That's a massive bonus for the Warriors. It'll be interesting to see how Walters goes in this as well. Good afternoon to Kinetic Rugby League. Are you around the Blue Bell tonight, Kinetic Rugby League? If you are, get yourself in there. Now then, before we came on air, I said to Steph, which battle was he looking forward to? He picked this one. Steph, talk us through this.
Yeah, Broadbent, we expect to be playing at fullback for KR. I think that's massive for them in terms of his performance. And obviously, Jai Field is so integral to the attacking shape that Wigan have. So I think whoever comes out on top in these two is probably going to be on the winning side. Broadbent's been fantastic in every position he's played. He's right up there with player of the season for me in terms of the impact that he's had at KR. He's the very definition of a utility back. Some don't want that tag. They want to nail down a certain position. But I do think he's a better centre, but he's not let anybody down when he's played fullback for KR. So it'd be really interesting with Harry Smith if he's going to put him under a lot of pressure, the high bombs and stuff. But Jack's proved this season he can deal with that. And then when you flip that over onto Jai Field, there's no more explosive player alongside Mikey Lewis and Bevan French in the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how Wigan utilise him in this game, whether they are conservative and defensive minded or whether they chance their arm. And if they do, and they are starting to see open play, then Jai Field could have a field day.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, Field for me, I thought he was quite ineffective by his standards at Warrington. I really did. I didn't think he had one of his better games, but there's no denying. I think the danger with Field, and somebody had a bit of a joke, didn't he, during weekly, that when we put the top 10 that are up for our Super League Raw trophy, somebody said he looks a little bit lonely without French. They were having a bit of a giggle, but actually, it's a very, very good case in point, because what Bevan French does, he attracts players that create space for Field. So that's why Field is a lot more effective when French is there, because French does manage to create the space that this man utilises time and time again.
Yeah, it's that dual threat, what we can have. So when Bevan French is playing, you're absolutely right. He attracts 2-3 defenders, which then gives that outside space for Field to go into. So it's important, and it's no coincidence Jai's not been amazing in this period where French has been out of the game. I would expect Field to be getting a lot more tries when Bevan French is inside.
Yeah, well, John Wilkinson, another one of our members. I think we'll see the best of Jai Field if French is playing. Looking forward to the Wilco Company this evening in the Bluebell. As always, they're always in there, the Wilcos. It'd be fantastic to see them this evening. Look, again, there's so many. I mean, you go back to the team sheets. I mean, there's so many wonderful, wonderful battles. I think the Wardle-Hickey one has been well discussed, and absolutely that's going to be a belter. There's no doubt about it. We've got... actually, let's go there. This is another one for me, Steph. We haven't done a graphic for this. Earlier in the season, we saw Wigan Warriors bring back Abbas Miski. Was it the Huddersfield game? I'm trying to think what game it was.
Could have been, yeah.
I think it was the Huddersfield game. They brought him back. Clearly wasn't fit. They brought him back, and for me, he wasn't good. He wasn't good at all. Let's just start. Was it? Was it the Leopards? Was it you? Can't have been you. 4th of July?
I can't remember.
I know he played and he was really, really ineffective. They brought him back. He was supposedly going to be injured and they brought him back. For me, you can't drop Eckersley from that wing spot.
No.
You can. And I think for me, if Friday night I saw Abbas Miski lining up against KR, if I'm KR, I'm probably quite happy about that, because I think Eckersley poses at this time. And we said that we felt going into the season that Miski was a threat by Eckersley. And I think the time is now. I think Zach Eckersley is the person to play on that right-hand side, and him against Budgie is going to be outstanding. I think the thing about this game is the edges are so important, because when two good sides come toe-to-toe, a lot of the time it's an edge try that wins it, because the middle is so tightly contested. So the edges are going to be vitally important. I think the Eckersley Budgie one is going to be a very interesting one, but so too's the other side, and I think that this is the side that could win or lose the game. Davies has been outstanding this season and has justified Willie Peters bringing him across from the Catalan Dragons. He's been exceptional. Of course, a former Wigan player, has won a grand final with the Wigan Warriors. Let's not forget that. And again, at the start of the season, you know, would you have expected Liam Marshall to be 7 tries behind Tom Davies after 21 rounds? You probably wouldn't. By Liam's standards, and don't get me wrong, 8 tries, 8 assists, it's as good as making or scoring a try every game. He's not having a bad season, but this is the same Liam Marshall that dominated the try scoring charts in 2024. So Liam himself will probably not be very happy with the return that he's had this year. But Tom Davies has popped up time and time again this year on the right edge and had stellar games. And I think at this moment in time, Davies is in better form than perhaps Liam is. And that, for me, I said the other edge is going to be equally as well contested. But I'm fascinated to see this one. I think everything points to Davies coming out on top. At what point does Liam Marshall fire in 2025?
Yeah, no, it's a great show, and I think you're right. I think Marshall will be disappointed with his try haul this year, rightly so as well. It goes back to, again, about the whole thing around Wigan, where they've been all right, but they've not been great. And I think when you see your wingers with only 8 tries at Wigan, that speaks volume. We expect Wigan wingers to be 20 plus tries a season. Yeah. Just going back to the Budgie one and Miskey or Eckersley. That, I think this is where we see the coaching side of it. If they played Miskey, Mikey Lewis would be putting kicks to that corner, because Eckersley's Budgie's going to out jump Miskey. Simple as that. And they'll invoke that. That's why I think he'll go with Eckersley, because he matches up a lot better against Budgie. So that's going to be fascinating whether he does go with that lineup. I can't see him going with Miskey. I just can't see it happening. No. But you're right. I think Davies is the better winger at the moment over the Davies to Marshall. He's been great for KR this season. And it's one of those, because he's on the right, isn't he? So that tends to be the side that doesn't get the service as much. Yeah. Normally, you're left. It's
interesting though you say that, because this year we've seen a lot of tries scored on the right.
Yeah, it's been weird, but that's normally your left wingers, like Charlie plays on the left of the league. You know, they tend to get more service just because it's naturally the way people pass better. But yeah, it's. There's matchups all over the field, isn't there, in this one? It'll keep using the word fascinating, but it is going to be fascinating. Yeah, I can't wait for this match. It's going to be brilliant, and I'm really excited to see who plays where and how each team's going to perform. There's stories all over the park.
Interestingly, no Mickey McAlorum, and of course that creates in itself a little bit of a problem, only a little one, because obviously Brad O'Neill, Mickey Mack, they're probably the starting hookers. They're the ones that are going to start off, and they're going to put some shots on, and they're going to trying to get the defence on top. We know that Jez Litton has played big minutes this year. Cruz Lehman is a brilliant foil for O'Neill after 20-25 minutes. Outstanding. We know that Cruz can, you know, we've seen it time and time again. He comes on and he just turns the momentum of the game. I remember, I think it was last year it might have been against Catalan, that I went to Catalan Wigan with one of the members, and I remember Lehman coming on it. I think he came on in that one. I know Paddy Mago did, and they just turned the game. So that's a bit of an advantage for Wigan. The question is, are they going to who are they going to put on the bench? Are they going to load it up with forwards and say to Jez Litton, we need you to do big minutes, or do they bring Leyland on the bench and give young Billy his head? Again, what do you think they might do there, Kaya?
I think they'll put Leyland on the bench. I think it's too big of a risk to, we saw what happened with Connor, for example, against Wakefield. You know, one awkward arm and he was out for the rest of the game. If they lose Litton for whatever reason, that's too big of a gamble to not have another hooker on the bench for me. So whether Whether they use him is another question. We've seen plenty of sides this year have subs they've not used, just sat on the bench.
Yeah, that's true.
So that will be interesting, but I think it'll be too big a risk for Willie Peters to not name another hooker.
Fair enough. Right across the park, incredible lineups. We've been waiting for this one. Let's just hope it doesn't disappoint. On for over 20,000 fans. And I'll tell you now, I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a few neutrals from in and around the northwest of England who make the pilgrimage as well this coming Friday. Such is the magnitude of this game and hopefully the spectacle of rugby league that we're going to be treated to, because it should be exceptional. I cannot wait for it. If you're not going, don't worry about that. The WhatsApp group, I'm sure, will be very, very lively on Friday night as that one is unfolding. Safe travels to all of our Robins fans and supporters. And let's just hope that Rugby League is the winner. I'm sure it will be. Right, let's move on to the Castleford Tigers. Take it. Again, I've not done it. Let's do the records. Wardle 150 in Super League. Brad O'Neill 100 for his career. Liam Marshall, if he got a brace, will be on 150 tries in Super League. Liam Fowle needs 2 for 150 for Wigan. I don't see that happening, but hey, who knows? Bevan French needs 1 try for 100 in Super League, and Tom Davies needs 1 try for 100 in Super League. So who knows? Some records may tumble at the brick. Right, Castleford Tigers. These two have drawn 3 times in Super League history. 28 to 41, that should say, not 411. 41. I actually did a second slide just because I noticed that, but I clearly uploaded the wrong one. Never mind. Everything else is right. As you can see, the form guide there. One loss, 1. Is it going to be a win? Is it going to be a loss for the Rhinos? We wouldn't expect the Rhinos to have too many issues here the way that they're playing. But again, they have been, as that pattern WL shows, they've just been a little bit up and down, a bit inconsistent at times. No doubt about it. When you look at the points for and against, who should come out on top in this one? Tackle efficiency been great for the Rhinos this year. A massive improvement on 2024. And of course, with the news this week that Brad Arthur stays for 2026, you would expect the Rhinos to really waltz into the One Bore Stadium. And I'm going to miss saying the jungle, I have to say. The One Bore Stadium and come away with a 2 point, Steph.
Well, yeah, I'd expect Leeds to explode like a 12-bore in this one. The shotgun start for Leeds. No, you would expect the news of Brad Arthur is really positive for the players. That certainty of knowing the coach is going to be there next year, that should really help them. I can't see anything other than a convincing Leeds winning this one. I know they've got a couple of players out still, specifically in the forwards, but I still think they'll have too much for Castleford. But you know, I did think it was going to be a bit of a blowout this one. I'm not so sure. Some of my gut's just telling me Cass. They always up the game for Leeds, don't they?
You do.
It's one of those. So I think I predicted Leeds 18 plus on weekly. I think it might be close to that. I do still feel that Leeds have got more than enough to win it comfortably, but it may be a bit close to what people think. It'll be interesting to see which Castleford side turn up. You know, they've got it in them. You know, they held Wigan and could have very easily beat Wigan at home not so long ago. So I hope Cas do turn up, and I hope it's a really good game.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, look, the last time Castleford beat Leeds at what would then have been the Jungle, and it was a good win as well, 26-24, real tight affair in the round 14 of the 23 season. You know, lots happened since then, but yeah, that was I'm sorry, actually, that was at St James's. Actually, the last time they won at the Jungle was actually the same season, round 5, 14-8. They went back to back. You know, they played really, really well. If you remember, that was the game that they played with the Doddy shirt.
Yes.
Leeds. Yeah, I remember that. Now, Ryan Hall, we'll get to Bet Stef in a minute, but Ryan Hall has scored in the last 3 games against Cass. There you go. Hey, there you go. But you're right, yeah, no Michalajewski still. He's still not there. But
Cam Smith as well. Cam Smith.
Yeah, Cam Smith's not there, but of course Watkins will deputise perfectly for that. Chris Atkinson, obviously, you'd expect him to feature. How do you feel? I mean, Hankinson How do you think he played against Lee? I felt he looked a little bit off, maybe not fully gelled. You'd expect him to get better. What was your thoughts on Chris Hankinson?
Yeah, I think you could see that he'd only just come into the side and he was still finding his place a little bit. Obviously, he's got another week of training under his belt, working on some of those shapes with the back line. I thought defensively he was decent, but a good game for Chris, this one, to show his worth and why he's been brought into this lead side. Very interested to see how he goes up against. Will it be Sam Wood?
He'd be on the. He played on the. Didn't he play on the left last week? He played on the left, didn't he?
Yes.
So that would be Sim.
Yeah. So, it'd be an interesting one to see how he goes against them. But he's a player that's played in Super League for a long time. Wigan, Salford, Toulouse. So he's got the experience, and I think with another game under his belt, it'll really help him in terms of that relationship with the other Leeds players.
Now, Tech's always pictured. Big Tech's coming back. We'll talk about him in a bit more detail in a moment. But, I mean, vitally important. He's been a massive miss this season for the Tigers. No Ron Milne, of course. He's gone back to KR. Jensen Winley, I would hope, plays in the halves. I hope that they don't put Hoy in the halves alongside Assey. If Hoy's back, and this is the problem, with the likes of, Fletcher, Rooney, etc. But, of course, Rooney's not in the 21. So that's going to make that a bit easier. So, Hoy, for me, needs to play fullback. They need to give Windley his head, for me. That's my personal belief in this. I want to see Jensen Windley playing. I think he's a player. Obviously, Elliot Wallace as well has come in and will probably feature, of course, in his senior out for the season. Again, a hammer blow. I mean, they're not doing anything in 2025, but there's no doubt he is their most potent attacking weapon. He's not there. Back comes Tex. I mean, this is what they've been missing. I mean, these were his stats before his injury, 13 appearances at that point. And again, there, 4 tries, 8 assists, making or scoring one in each game. Great effort. When you consider he's playing for Castleford, that is some effort. He was really, really playing well. Can break a tackle, 42 tackle bust there. You can see it. He's been solid for Cass, I have to say. He's amazed me at how well he's played at Castleford. And it's a big bonus that he's back, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And he's obviously proved quite a few people wrong in terms of his form at Castleford. He's been a big loss for them, definitely. But I think Sinny's deputised well for him when he's played there. I think you're right about Winley. From the way he played against KR in an unconventional role at fullback, I think he's probably earned Chester's respect a little bit in terms of that performance. And I think Chester will reward him with that starting half position.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's hope he does. A question in the chat: who do we think will be the starting props for the Leeds Rhinos? I think there's no doubt Palacia.
Yeah,
will be one of them. And then, of course, you've got some good players, coming through at the Rhinos. But of course, they've took a few out, haven't they? No Holroyd still, is he? Holroyd's not in the 21 there, no. So he's not there, and also the other lad as well. Jenkins, Connor Jenkins is out as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's not there. So obviously Presley Cassell, he's in there, and he's somebody coming through. For me, Lazzoni, they can't start Lazzoni in the front row because for me he's an impact prop. They haven't got that for me. So it'll be interesting to see if they give Cassell a starting spot. And then, of course, you've got Littlewood, who hasn't had many games. I remember him coming on last year and having a real. I'm trying to remember, that might have been Huddersfield as well. And I thought he played well. So needless to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the starting 17 as well. But yeah, they've got big problems down the middle of the Rhinos going into this. So to take Steph's point, many people might saw this as a bit of a blowout for Leeds, but because of that middle unit, if the likes of Tom Amon and that can get on top, could be a game. Now, this one for me, Lockie Miller. Now, there was a few people on Weekly. I have to give an honest confession. Unlike me to make errors, but I did make an error or two on Weekly. So, as you can imagine, it takes a lot to put these together, up against it a little bit with the kids being off at this moment in time. And when I was doing Team of the Week and all the rest of it, the Leeds tab was off. Which was a problem, a big problem, because of course Sam Lozone was far better than Ethan Havard, and he was, and he should have been in the props. And yes, this man probably should have been fullback as well, albeit I think Flanagan, not as big an error as Havard and Lozone, but there you go. So a little bit of an honest one from me, hands up, a little bit of an error there on this week's Team of the Week, and that will be rectified accordingly behind the scenes. But anyway, to Lockie Miller, Jai Field has been exceptional all year. He's been really, really good for the Wigan Warriors, I have to say, and probably for many people would be favourite for the number one shirt for the Dream Team. That said, how far is this guy off it? Yeah,
he's very close, very, very close. I was very, very impressed when I saw him in the flesh at the Sports Village last week. I thought he was exceptional, and he's come on leaps and bounds. I think there were still some question marks over him last season in terms of some of his running sideways. Some of his defensive efforts as well were brilliant. This season he's been completely different. He's really showed and he showed glimmers of it last year as well. But I think this year he's been exceptional for Leeds, and he's really cemented that fullback spot down, and he's got everything, hasn't he? He's got pace. He can be solid under the high ball. Everything you want in a fullback, Lockie Miller's showing at the moment.
He is indeed, and not only is he the top meter maker, he's also the top tackle buster as well in the division. Him and Tessie New at the moment having a right good battle for that particular KPI. But yeah, he's been wonderful. Look, we would expect. I mean, if Leeds lose this, again the questions come: can they really be contenders for the Old Trafford this year and for the grand final? It's been a massive improvement, but I think again it will be that show of fragility that they've got. I think they will win it, if I'm being honest, but if they don't, I think questions at that point will be asked about their real aspirations for the top spot this year. Now we go to a great game at the MKM. Your Leopards taking on the Black and Whites, and this should be a great game, an absolutely fantastic game of rugby league. Of course, what's mad is these have had 2 draws in their Super League history already. I mean, and when you consider how little they played each other in Super League, that is an incredible stat. To think that they've, to just think of it that way, that they played each other that amount of times, and they've had 2 draws as well. And that's why in the last 5 meetings it's 3-1, because of course one of them was a draw. Lee, of course, losing out to Leeds last time out, so no perfect W run there in the last 5 for Lee, as opposed to Hull FC, who had an easy afternoon against the Salford Red Devils. And of course, because of that Salford score, it does change, I mean, the points for piece, because you look at that and you're thinking, well, FC have got a better 4 and a tighter defence. But of course, that 4 has been very, very heavily benefited by what happened at the weekend just gone. But that said, let's take nothing away from their defensive effort, because even even with the exception of the game against Salford, they would still have a very, very good points against versus the Lee Leopards. And the mad thing about this is, when you look at those 2 stats back side by side, 4-5-1, 4-3-1, 3-5-3, 3-8-4, and yet there's 6 points difference in the league. The biggest stat of all is how many wins you get. Of course, we all know that. But it's an interesting one, isn't it, Steph?
It is. It's a very interesting one. But I think the biggest stat that jumps out to me is the errors. Yeah. I think Lee have been a lot better in that respect. To be, 38 less errors. Yeah. That if you average that out, that's 2 less errors a game. So, which is massive, as we know, in rugby league. So it's that's going to be a factor if they can keep clean. We all know that FC's home form as well has been a bit dodgy, to say the least. I think there's still 2 home wins this season. Is that right?
That'll be the second, yeah.
Yeah, but I think FC are going to be well up for this game. It's massive for them in terms of whether they're going to get into the playoffs. I think that's a huge motivator for them to try and get the result here. Had an easy run out last week, but I think another factor in this one is that Lee have had over 10 days rest, because they played on a Thursday and this is obviously the Saturday, so that's going to help Lee a little bit in terms of the recovery from the Leeds game. So this is why I think there's lots of things that cancel each other out in this game with both these sides, and I think this is going to be the closest game of the round.
Mate, they've been very, very close. You know, they've come up against each other, and it's the last couple of times have been really tight games. You know, I mean, Hull played really well at your gap, though. Let's not take anything away from them for that. I mean, a really good 26-12 win that day. But yeah, it's fascinating, and like I say, all credit must go to FC. Now, unfortunately, FC did us the great favour of giving us a 21-man squad graphic, but with no players on it. So here they come down at the bottom for you, ladies and gentlemen. But obviously, Daniel McIntosh back in, in contention. Do you expect any changes from the team that played against the Rhinos?
No, I don't think so. I think Lamb's looking for consistency at the moment, and I think if there's anybody that's going to get rested or needs a break, that'll probably come next week when we play Salford. So I think they'll go with the strongest side available, and I think everyone on there is the same as last week. If I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about left edges. I mean, the left, Harvey Barron and Tom Briscoe have got a real handful there, haven't they? Will it be Tessie New on that side? It will be, won't it? With Charlie. Tessie and Charlie on the left-hand side, won't it? I mean, they have got a massive task on there, haven't they?
Yes. Yeah, it's two big players to deal with. But I think those two have been great this season. So if they're not on it, then Tessie New and Charlie will take advantage. But I think given the form that both of those players are in at the moment, they should have enough to be able to cope with those two.
Yeah, Jake and Andy laugh out loud in the chat, and it's great to see you putting so many comments in, but I have to say I disagree with this one. Game of the week with no build-up as KR and Wigan are playing. It ain't the game of the week. It's a great game, but it can only be Wigan KR. I mean, that everybody's waiting for that. But this, in its own right, is a brilliant game of rugby league. It's going to be a cracker. There's no doubt about that. So I take his sentiment, but even you've got to concede. Even as a Leaf fan, you can't wait for the Wigan KR game. It's going to be a box office job, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and it always is when you get 1v2. It's always going to be. But also with the history of those two clubs as well, I do think this is the second best game of the week.
So 100%. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think from a neutral point of view, it's going to be really enjoyable as well, because I think it will be really close, and it could. We've seen it before. That we've got a history of drawing at the MKM. It's already happened this season, so don't be surprised if this is no different, and we get another golden point.
Bit of a bonus for Lee, the fact that Liam Knight isn't going to be lining up against you. Of course, that weakens the front row a little bit of Hull FC. Offengawi and SASA, what a collision that's going to be when those two hit each other hard on the day. That's going to be a cracker. Will Price, for the minutes he played again, and it's Salford, but he did do 5 assists. And I think what we saw is it was a great game actually for those two to return, wasn't it? Asiata and Price. Because it just brought them back in, and and especially Asiata in that link-up role that he does, just brings him back in. A good run out for him. It was a training exercise. Let's be crystal on that, and they will be better for that coming into this game. Also, Jordan Lane is back as well for FC after a long injury. Whether he gets into the 17, we'll have to wait and see. But Jordan Lane is back as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be the team selection for FC is going to be quite interesting. Will Price had a niggled in that game against Salford, so it'll be interesting to see whether he has recovered from that. I think they brought him off after 60 minutes in the Salford game. Not worth risking him any further. So hopefully he's recovered and he'll be okay for this game. I think the big one for Lee is Robbie Mulhern and Ethan O'Neill. I expect both those to start this week. Obviously, with that Leeds game under the belt now coming back, I expect a bigger and better performance from both of those two, who I thought weren't fully at it, but understandable considering coming back from injury. Yeah. But I think the main one to watch out for from a League perspective this week is Edwin Apape. Lam has come out in the press already to say, he's giving him a bit of a rocket on his recent performances, although he's carrying a few niggles. I expect Edwin to have a bit of a stormer in this game.
Well, it's going to be interesting. But like I say, let's not count out, because I think the real danger point for the Leopards, exactly the same way that we said that Briscoe and Barron have got their hands full, so too have Davy Litton and so too of Yamala Hanley and Keenan Brand if he plays, or it could be McIntosh. But Brand has been getting the majority of the starts against arguably one of the most informed centre wing left partnerships in Martin and Litton.
Yeah, they've been exceptional last few weeks, especially really, really good. Obviously, last week I think was a bit of a, when you're playing Salford at the moment, it's a bit of a distortion of where players are and stuff like that. But I think not with those two. I think they've both been exceptional. So yeah, it's a real good test for them. And I'm interested to see how Hanley's defence goes in this game, because that's been his biggest weakness this year for Lee. He's been exceptional going forward, but sometimes in defence he has got it in him. We've seen some great defensive displays for him, but it just concerns me when people come on his left side. He seems to struggle with that. But Keenan Brand, I'm not concerned about. I think Keenan's been fantastic for Lee this season.
Rebecca Frey is with us in the chat. Rebecca, we have your hoodie. It's on its way this evening. Get ready to get that one over your shoulder, sweet. It's on its way. Right, Josh Charnley, if he gets a try in this game, he will draw level, joint 25th place in the all-time British game scorers, alongside Alan Hunt and Jimmy Latham. So there's one for Josh if he was to go over. Of course, the key battle is this one, Caesar versus Lamb. Both of them sniffing around awards at the end of the year, or both of them very firmly in top 5, top 10s in whether it be the Goldthorpe, the Super League Road Trophy, and you'd expect the Man of Steel. Both have had great seasons. This is where, for me, the game is won and lost.
Yeah, it's going to be. Is Caesar going to play? Is he confirmed?
He's in the squad. He's in the squad. So I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. So if he does play, I think that's massive for FC. He's been, start of the season he was exceptional, wasn't he? He's had a little bit of a dip, but we all know what he's capable of, and I think because the key point with Caesar at the moment is Asiata being back. This is where, if these two link up, that could be the difference in this game. Lockie Lamb's assists have been phenomenal this year, but there's still parts of his game where he'd like to improve. I'd like to see him take the line on a bit more than he has been doing this, in recent games. But yeah. Again, we spoke about it before about the difference some players can make. Whoever plays best in these two could definitely end up being on the winning side.
It's going to be a great game of rugby league. Right, let's move across to the evening fixture. Saints welcoming the Giants to the Totally Wicked Stadium. A resurgent Saints, it's got to be said. They have been in great form. Just the one loss, and that was, of course, to the Leopards in their last 5. Good to see 2 Ws, back-to-back wins against the Huddersfield Giants name. That's been a long time coming for our Carbal Army, but they finally got him. It's not good reading, though, this, so I'm sorry, Carbal Army fans. One draw, of course, between these two. The advantage, absolutely, with Saints 5-0. They've won the last 12 against Huddersfield. Ouch. The last win that the Giants got was in 2020, a 12-10 win. It's a long time ago, that. They've also won their last 4 meetings with Huddersfield at home, including in the Challenge Cup quarter-final at Edinburgh. It's just frightening. It's frightening. It really is. I shouldn't laugh, but wow, you don't really want to be going there. Saints are in great form, Steph. Joel said it on Weekly. He expects it not to be as painful as perhaps it could have been 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. But Saints just look the part. This lad, very exciting, incredibly exciting on the left edge for Saints, Owen Dagnall. I think he's had a brilliant 10 appearances for him this season. Again, for a young lad to come into a Saints team that has been, let's be fair, it has been struggling. It's getting into its groove now, but it has been struggling. For him to post 7 tries in 10 appearances, that's impressive for any young player, isn't it?
It is very, very impressive. He's been brilliant since coming into the side, and I think with Felt playing well as well, Murphy is probably the third choice, isn't he? At the Saints now, but good on the lad for taking his chance and impressing when he's come on. I think he hasn't looked out of place at all. He doesn't look like a new player. He's a big lad. He's an athlete. And I think he's got the potential to be Saints winger for many, many years to come. I think that's how impressive he's been so far this season. But I think you look at Saints' form since he's been in the side as well. Since moving Sailor to fullback, him going onto the wing, Saints have been exceptional. And that's why I do worry a bit for Huddersfield in this one. As good as Huddersfield were against Catalan, and they were, this is a different ball game now. Saints are looking so dangerous. They're looking like a team that well deserves to be in the playoffs, and potentially could put a run together to Old Trafford for me at the moment. So it's going to be interesting how both teams approach this game. But I do, for me, especially with Saints being at home, I expect them to be comfortable winners in this one.
Can't disagree. Really, we love seeing young talent come through. We were hoping for more from Noah Stevens this year, and of course, he's going to miss the remainder, I think, for the Saints. But this lad's another one that we're going to keep a close eye on. Him, Lewis Martin, another one. We had the Matty Ashton one coming through. Matty's been an exceptional pro, and now behind him are these other young talents. It's just great to see them coming through consistently and playing so well. Massive headache for Paul Wellens when Wellsby comes back, and who'd have thought we'd be saying that? But when Wellsby comes back, he has got a big decision to make. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think this is the big problem for Paul, because Sailor has been playing great, funnily enough, in his position of fullback. He did okay when he was on the wing as well, but it's one of those when you have got someone like Dagnall, Phelps playing really well, scoring plenty tries as well. So you can't really drop those two. So where does Sailor fit in? It is a conundrum, and I think that the problem is Sailor's coming on as a marquee player, hasn't he? He's on marquee money.
Exactly, he's undroppable in that. But Wellsby is as well, isn't
he? Yeah, and that's you always say it's a good problem to have. I don't think this is a good problem to have, because when you've got two of your highest paid players in the same position.
Yeah, it's a big headache. And I think for me, it's which one of these are going to get put into the halves.
Yes.
Because, when By's there at the moment, you could see Wellsby, when he comes back, actually going.
I think that's what he'll do.
That's what I think he'll do. I think Wellsby might find himself back in the halves. And I remember there was a lot of time where people were talking at Saints about Wellsby going into the halves, and then he got put in the halves, and then they were disappointed, and he wanted him back at fullback and all the rest. But one of them are going to have to go into the halves, and it's going to be interesting to see which one of them does that. Jake saying bye to Lomax, I think that's very harsh. I think Johnny Lomax has been playing really well.
Yeah,
really well, Johnny Lomax. The other thing as well, before we finish this episode, of course, we'll quickly do bet Stef. There is a game which we can't ignore at Salford. We're not going to talk about the game, really. Again, I'm just going to make a plea for anybody who didn't watch weekly. If you're doing the march on Sunday, I say it again, be better than the people that are running your club. By all means, do your march. By all means, have your voice heard. Do it peacefully. Do it with class. Do not let down yourselves, the club, or the sport of rugby league. Do it right. We're right behind you. If that was our team, we would be disappointed and filthy as well. Right. But just be better than the people that are running your club.
I think the main thing on that, like you say, is to do it with class, and the rugby league community will go with you. Do stupid things, and they can very easily turn against you. We want to support Salford fans. We know they've been through the ringer, and there's ways and means of doing things. And like I say, right, absolutely show your, in the most passionate way, your dissatisfaction with these people are running your club, but do it in a way that everybody gets behind you, not turns against you.
Yeah, and the last thing where Wakey are concerned, who expect to go and win this, is, Darryl Powell hinted after the Saints game that he might ring the changes for this one. For me, I'm just hoping that Darryl doesn't do that. If he's going to do it for the right reasons, giving players a rest. Don't do it for the wrong reasons, because things can turn. And I think Darryl's players this year have earned the right to have an off week and play again the next week. So I just hope that Darryl Powell doesn't follow through on anything like that, because it very quickly can turn. And I think Wakey, yes, it was a poor performance against Saints, but I would hope that he puts out his strongest team again, because he needs to get the momentum going. Right, it's time for this.
Are you sick and tired of winning your bets every week? Want to contribute to the bookies' Christmas party? The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Stef.
Okay, so first up we have the 5-team handicap accumulator. Obviously, there's no Salford in this, so we're down to 5 teams still. First one, Warrington minus 12.5. I just see a big Warrington performance tonight. I think Sam will have them really fired up in this home crowd, and I think they're going to have just enough to overcome that. I don't think it'll be much more. It could be a bit close, this one, but I do think Warrington will have just enough to overcome that handicap. Hull KR plus 2.5. I'm amazed. I'm absolutely gobsmacked that the bookies are giving KR a start in this game. So this was too good to turn down for me. So Hull KR plus 2.5 all day. Leeds minus 16.5. This one could be at risk in terms of the forwards that Leeds have got available. Obviously, I didn't know that at the time of doing this, but Leeds are more than capable. If Leeds turn it on, they should be 18 plus in this one. So let's hope they do for the bet's sake. Lee minus 6.5, probably a bit more heart rather than head on that one. Could very easily go the other way, but it was a toss of a coin, so I've gone with my team, Lee minus 6.5. And Saints minus 16.5. Unfortunately for the Giants, I do expect Saints to be quite ruthless in this game. Again, could be close to overcoming that handicap, but I think they will just have enough to get over it. And for the anytime try scorers, I've gone for Matt Duffy, Joe Burgess, and Lockie Miller, returning 14.5 to 1, which I think is quite decent odds for those players who are all been in form. If Duffy comes back in, obviously. So.
Very nice, Mr. Sale. Very nice indeed. Yes, I do think if Duffy plays, looks a decent 3-try accumulator, that one, I have to say. I think there's a couple of gambles though in the fivefold, I have to also say. It can't be as bad as it was last week. Last week was a shocker. Not one of your best. Not one of your best. Is Mr. Sale going to strike back? I'm sure he will.
Right. We can all have a bad week. We can all have a bad week.
Yes, did you hear that, Mr. Powell? Everybody can have a bad week. Absolutely. It's how you strike back. Absolutely. Right, look, we will be back at about 20 to 7. We're now going to go get showered, changed, make the pilgrimage down to the Bluebell. If you're a Warrington fan, if you're in and around Warrington, and Tony Pennington said he's going to join us, make sure you're in the Bluebell a little bit later on for a bit of fun, games, and of course we'll be going through the squads at that time. But as always, there is your captain's run for a Thursday. We hope you've enjoyed taking this little trip through the games. Enjoy your rugby league this weekend. You'll be seeing plenty of us later on in the day. Bye for now.